Welcome to a new fragrance review. Today we're gonna try Jaguar Classic Red. So here is the presentation of the bottle. It's a nice orange, kind of look red maybe, but it's when I put it in the light, it's definitely orange. It's the same kind of pattern as the black, classic black that I tried some time ago. Little alternate Jaguar logo on top. Nothing quite special. Jaguar, they make kind of cheap fragrances. That doesn't mean that they're bad. Here is the little box, and it says under that it's made by Lalique. So it's made by Lalique. It's gonna be good, or it should be. So let's try the smell. When I spray it in the air, there is some fragrance it reminds me of Diesel Fuel for Life, but like a bit softer. Remind me a lot of fragrances like Blue Jeans by Versace and Lalique pour Homme. I would say that these fragrances are more on the citrus side, and if you're not a big fan of citrus fragrance and you like the dry down of these fragrances, you're probably gonna like this fragrance. First note that I'm picking up, it's raspberry. I think it's the raspberry and some kind of woody background that makes me think of Fuel for Life, because it's basically a raspberry fragrance with some kind of woody background. Picking up some blueberry also. Picking up some tonka bean. It seems together the accord give me feeling that there is sandalwood. I wouldn't say that there's a sandalwood note, but it feels like a sandalwood accord, the whole fragrance. Picking up some pepper and some cedar. I'm actually picking up a lot of pepper. On my skin it was not so intense, but on paper it is. Picking up some patchouli, and I'm picking up some vanilla, but it's really soft and subtle in the background. On my skin, what I'm picking up, the main two notes I'm having is raspberry and amber, and I think the other notes are too intense on paper, and on my skin it might be how my skin interact. It's the amber that's most present. Also picking up some tonka bean, some vanilla, some blueberry, some cedar, some patchouli, some bergamot, and some ozonic note. I'm not picking up a lot of pepper. It's hard to really distinguish this on my skin. I'm picking up some cedar, and even on the paper, I'm really picking up the pepper and the cedar kind of really fused together. It's hard to really describe it, but those two notes, I'm picking them like kind of together. On my skin, the cedar is really soft, and the pepper seems to like complement that cedar. It's not there enough for me to really call it as a pepper note, more like the influence of pepper. As it dries down, I'm picking up a lot of amber, a lot of cedar. I'm still picking up some raspberry, a little bit of tonka bean, a little bit of vanilla. At that point, I'm starting to pick up some pepper. I think it's like the same, they are still fused together, and at that point it's either that the cedar and the pepper are having less other notes that shows, or they start to show more. Anyway, I'm picking up more pepper, and I'm picking up some patchouli also. As it keeps drying down, I'm still picking up some raspberry. It's, even though it's a thumb note in the perfume pyramid on Fragrantica, I'm picking up for the whole time of the fragrance. It's not as intense. It's just like there's some raspberry, but that little raspberry note is still there, the whole fragrance. Picking up a little bit of amber, a little bit of tonka bean, a little bit of vanilla, a little bit of cedar, and that's about it. Fragrance is pretty linear. That little vibe of the kind of dry down of Blue Jeans, which is the best fragrance I would compare it to, is pretty much that for the whole life of the fragrance. Projection was pretty good. At its best, it was about 6 feet away from me. People were able to smell it. Longevity is not as good. It was like 3 to 6 hours. It kind of lasted a little bit as a dim skin scent, a little bit more over that 6-hour mark, but it definitely is something that I wouldn't be surprised that some people wouldn't smell that little leftovers after that 6 hour. For the complete note breakdown, top notes are raspberry, blueberry, and bergamot. Heart notes are black pepper, jasmine, and ozonic note. And the base notes are tonka bean, amber, vanilla, cedar, and patchouli. And before I keep going with the usual breakdown of where I would see the fragrance, I see that it, like in the category, this perfume reminds me of, I see a lot of fragrance. There's Solo by Loewe that I already reviewed. Giacomo de Giacomo Rouge that I already reviewed. It's the second fragrance most like compared to, like the Unfragrantica. And yeah, definitely there's a lot of similarity. I would say Giacomo de Giacomo Rouge is a bit softer. I mean, it's on paper, so it's not the same. It's more on the vanilla side. But I wouldn't compare Giacomo de Giacomo Rouge to those other fragrances that I'm comparing, Jaguar, Classic Red. I would say that it's not really in that same family, but definitely there's something that's really close about each other. Now, where I would see this fragrance, I think it could be doing a good job as a business fragrance. Somehow I would say that someone in his 30 would be able to pull it off more easily than any other like bracket of age. It's just my opinion. I think like any fragrance could be worn by anyone in the end if you really enjoy it. But you could wear it as a business fragrance. Wouldn't be quite there, wouldn't be one of the best, but still be a pretty good one. In all the Jaguar that I smelled, it will be the best one. Though there's not a lot of fragrance from Jaguar that I smelled, but it would be the best. As a dating fragrance, it could be doing a good job. Again, it's not quite there, but it's really close to that type of fragrance. So could be nice. It will be a bit different than the usual fragrance. So it will be good, doing a good job. There's a category that I'm not putting in like a really type of fragrance, which is a fragrance to go out with friends, and this fragrance would be doing a good job for that. Just going out with friends, going out, and not necessarily like with friends, but just like going someplace for a dinner, for example. Could be a business dinner, could be like just a meeting some sort with a client, could be a date, could be just going like to a restaurant with friends, just like going out. That seems to be a great fragrance for that. In the summer winter spectrum, I would say it's more toward winter because it's project a lot more, though winter might be a bit too much for this fragrance. Wouldn't be one of the best winter fragrance, but definitely would work well. It will also, again, probably be best in the Jaguar that I tried for winter. In summer, it might be a bit too much, so wouldn't really recommend this one for summer. Could probably pull it off with 1 or 2 spray, but it's not quite that type of fragrance. And as an everyday fragrance, I think it could be doing a good job. It doesn't last the whole day. If you don't mind about it not lasting quite the whole day, that's all right. You can either reapply it or just live with the fact that you won't have any smell for the last like 2-3 hours at work, but the type of smell would be doing a good job. It's not the usual smell that you will have as an everyday scent. It's a little bit bold for an everyday scent, but it's quite versatile. It will be doing a good job. The only problem is lack of longevity, but the fragrance is super cheap, so it's not really a problem. And something that I think is really interesting about this fragrance is its lack of citrus. And most fragrance, especially for men, have citrus, and it's not true that everyone enjoys citrus. If you don't like citrus, that's a great fragrance to have as an everyday fragrance, because that's one of the only everyday fragrance that's gonna avoid citrus. Personally, I think it's a great fragrance. It's true that with Giacomo de Giacomo Rouge, it kind of feels redundant in my collection, and having also blue jeans by Versace, but I think it have a special place still. It's a great fragrance. It smells nice and it's a bit bold. Would be a great fragrance, I think, for fall, like when it's starting to get cold and I want something nice that doesn't have any citrus and that's just a bit warm and cozy. It would be a great fragrance for that. So hope you enjoyed the video. If it's the case, well, like and share. If you try this fragrance, tell me what you think about it. Also, if you're a fan of Jaguar, tell me which fragrance you think is the best from that brand. So, thanks for watching, and see you soon.